What is going on YouTube? Joshua Wade here, and thank you for checking out the third episode of Slightly Controversial Podcast. And I apologize for kind of not being around, but it's been a really busy past month or so. I even got married and everything, and yeah, I've been working on projects with full bands, actually tracking a full drum set, which has been fun because I haven't done that in quite a while. And thank God the drum set is properly tuned. It's got new heads. It's a custom kit. It's really nice. And yeah, so on to the thumbnail topic, right? Presonus, not really versus. This is more of a comparison, right? Comparison to Cubase 12 Pro. Now I'm comparing the Pro versions, so I don't know on the lower tiers of Cubase. I don't know what options they give you. I don't know what they don't have. So I'm just going to be talking about professional, Studio One Professional versus 12 Pro. Kind of makes sense to me. So the thing that I've noticed, this is only the second day, I gave myself a 30-day challenge starting Monday of this week. And the thing that I've noticed right out of the gate, which, okay, let me elaborate a little more on that. The 30-day challenge is I'm recording my desktop here. For those of you who are listening and not watching, I'll do my best to describe it. Here's my desktop. You see Cubase is installed. Ableton Live I like to mess around with, but it doesn't take any of my serious workload, by the way. I will mess with Ableton Live occasionally to kind of tinker with, but it's not part of my serious workflow, so I don't count that one. I don't have Studio One installed on this computer. I actually have a new laptop coming today, believe it or not, and I'm not going to install Studio One on that one, not because I don't want it on there, but because I know myself, and as soon as I hit a snag in Cubase, which is what is installed, as soon as I hit a snag in Cubase, I know me, I'll switch over to Studio One, my comfort zone, right? So I'm purposely not installing it on my new computer, and on this computer, I am just using Cubase. Again, this is the second day. What I have noticed with my second day, here are some kind of versus pros and cons thing that I've noticed compared to Studio One. I'm not talking about really any other DAW. Well, I might mention a few other ones, but I digress, right? Hey, it's a podcast, and I'm not going to edit that part out. Anyway, we are using Logic Pro to track the band at their studio because they just happen to have Logic Pro on their computer, and they want to use their computer, and that's fine. But we're just using Logic Pro as essentially a tape machine. I'm not doing any processing on it or anything like that. I'm very familiar with Logic. I've used it as my primary DAW for the past year and a half. So I said, you know what? Sure, let's track everything in Logic so they can keep the sessions on their MacBook. We're using an M1 MacBook Air and a Focusrite 18i20 third gen interface to track all the drums, guitars, vocals, everything. So it's sounding really good. And again, back to the DAW. We're using Logic, but it's just a tape machine. I'm going to bounce all the stems, the track outs, and bring them into either Cubase or Studio One. So one of those DAWs I'm going to stick with after this 30-day challenge. For you guys watching this when you're like, man, he trash talks Studio One a lot, though. Yeah, I do. I trash talk Studio One, but I have always said it's a good DAW. I never said it was a terrible DAW. I just question the decisions that Fender is making as a company for that DAW. Okay, so like the color wheel that just come out, 6.1.1 or whatever, 6.1. I actually saw a YouTuber make a video and said it was a game changer, and I'm doing the air quotes, a game changer. Really, dude? That's a game changer? You can select a different shade of blue or purple now? That's a game. Who asked for that? How is that a game changer? And for anyone, I can have a different shade of purple on this one instead of the traditional purple. Who cares? If I'm using Photoshop, yes, I want more of a color palette. But if I'm working with music, I don't give a shit if this hue is different, right? I don't know. Okay, that rant over on that one. I saw that, and they actually wasted time making a commercial about it. Like a little snippet about, hey, you can change the colors now. Updates to the lyrics track, which I don't care about. No offense if you do care about the lyrics track, that's fine. It is kind of a cool feature that I never use, but it's cool. So anyway, rant over, I promise. So the first thing I noticed about Cubase, the stock EQ is amazing. It's actually better than a lot of third party. If you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, I am a big fan of FabFilter plugins, more specifically the Pro Q3. A lot of people use it. I am one of those people. I really do like that EQ. Now, I have been playing around with the Kirchhoff EQ. It's pretty cool, but it hasn't replaced my FabFilter Pro Q3 yet, and I don't know if it ever will. But the stock EQ inside of Cubase, if you guys have not played around with it, you can sidechain each band, each dynamic band individually. Pro Q3 doesn't even do that. I think that is such a cool feature, and it's mid-side also, which for those of you who are on Studio One, I'm really happy that they brought us the dynamic EQ for version 6, but it's not mid-side. And do not bring up that stupid mid-side tool that Presonus has. Oh, but you have this tool mid-side. I don't even know what it's called because it's stupid. I'm sure you can use it for other stuff, but my point that I'm trying to make is I want to be able to grab the EQ, put it on a track. That EQ itself is mid-side, right? You can mid-side it. It's dynamic. Cool. I like that. And then they brought us the de-esser, which was cool for version 6. But I did this rant, and that video got over 7,000. In total, I did 2 videos. They got over 12,000 views together. My rant about how Studio One version 6 is not really version 6. So Cubase, another feature that I really like about Cubase, it comes with a thing called Very Pitch 3, which is very similar to Melodyne. I use Melodyne Studio daily. It's one of my, not just for vocal tuning, but I use it for instrument tuning. I use it for all kind of stuff because it's not just monophonic, it's polyphonic. So that's the drawback of the pitch correction inside of Cubase, the stock one. It's only monophonic, so vocals, bass guitar, things like that. It works great. It's very close to Melodyne Studio. Now, I know that Studio One offers that. They give you Melodyne Essentials included. Melodyne Essentials is a very limited version of what Very Pitch 3 has in Cubase 12. It's pretty close, but Very Pitch 3 is closer. If you guys are Melodyne users, it's closer to the Melodyne Studio edition. It doesn't have all of the features, but it's kind of like a happy balance in between. What's going on with my autofocus here? Okay. Are you tracking? I mean, I'm right here. Okay. So I really like the Very Pitch 3. I think it's really cool. It's got a scale. They call it the scale assistant, I think is what Cubase calls it. It's got scale assistant for Very Pitch 3. So whenever you're trying to pitch correct a vocal, you can actually see the scale. Very similar to what Ableton Live does. Whenever you select the scale, it'll highlight certain notes. It's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar in Cubase 12, which Pro. I don't know if anything below Pro has any of this stuff. I'm only talking about Pro. The audio alignment tool inside of Cubase 12, and these are things I've just noticed 2 days in. The audio alignment tool is really cool for people who are editing a lot of vocals. It's basically Vocaline. Like a slimmed down version of Vocaline. I'm sure Vocaline Studio, the newest one, I think it has a lot of really cool features that this doesn't have. But the point is you're getting all this stuff for free. Well, not for free. You're paying for the DAW, but it's included with it after you buy it. And there's a 60-day trial on Cubase 12 Pro. There's a 60-day trial. So I always recommend people try these things out before you buy them. And if you're looking at a DAW that doesn't offer a trial, some type of trial, don't even waste your money with it. It's not worth it. Okay, so another thing with the Cubase 12 versus Studio One that I've noticed, and again, this is a 30-day challenge, so I'm going to be posting update videos. Maybe next week's podcast. I'm going to try to do this every Wednesday. Maybe next week's podcast we'll be talking about Cubase again. Maybe I'll learn some things I don't like about it because I haven't been using it long enough to really know if I'm going to use it in my day-to-day workflow. Like I said at the beginning, it's going to be Studio One or Cubase. Is going to be my primary DAW now. I've switched back over to a Windows machine for my primary. I still use Mac. We're using Mac at the studio to track the band in Logic, and I still use Mac every day or so. But I want PC to be my main machine because I am starting to experiment with Unreal Engine and some video editing stuff. So, but that's a whole different thing. And this is an audio channel. This is a music channel. So we'll go back to music. So things that I notice about Cubase that I don't like compared to Studio One? I think that actually I can't think of anything right now because there's a lot of stuff that Presonus is doing to Studio One, and I'm not really a big fan of it. Okay, you know what? Yes, there is I like how Studio One is drag and drop. Now, Cubase is drag and drop with a lot of its stuff, but the workflow of Studio One seems a little quicker to me. Maybe it's just because I have used Studio One for the past, I don't know, 7 years. Mind you, the past year and a half has been off and on. I only been using it for projects that require me to use it. Other people who work in Studio One, they'll send me their sessions. That's when I work in it. But other than that, I've been using Logic for the past year and a half. But before that, 6 years solid, I only used Studio One. So coming from Pro Tools. So I do think the workflow that I've noticed so far is a little bit better inside of Studio One. Again, it could be because I'm just used to it, but the drag and drop feature has always been awesome in Studio One. Like that's always been something that's really cool and unique to it. Now other DAWs are starting to put it in place a little bit more. But I have to get used to Cubase's workflow, the way that you pull up virtual instruments after you insert them, and the way that you pull up your channel strip or whatever they call it. Now the channel strip is another thing that I notice is really cool. The stock plugins in general with Cubase 12 just seem to be amazing. I have never been a big fan of any of the stock plugins inside of Studio One. Even the Fat Channel. I don't think it's that great. Everybody raves about how great the Fat Channel is. I think it's overhyped, and I think there are free third-party plugins that are better than the Fat Channel. So that's just my opinion, okay? Just my opinion. If you use the Fat Channel all the time, it's not bad. I didn't say it was bad. I just think it's overrated and there are better options. So you're not going to get a bad mix out of it, right? If you know what you're doing, you're not going to get a bad mix out of it. It's a pretty good compressor. And, the channel, pretty good compressor, pretty good EQ, limiter. And what else does it have? You can add a bunch of other stuff. I wish they would add a feature that you can put two compressors serial, because I serial compress everything. So, well, not everything, come on. I serial compress vocals with the traditional 1176 and the LA2A. So they don't offer that. Maybe that's another reason why I don't use the Fat Channel. They don't offer that yet. If they brought that, not that I'm aware of, if they brought that to Fat Channel, I might respect it a little bit more, but right now I don't. So that's I wanted to put this video out, or this podcast, to kind of talk to you guys and girls out there. What's your take on it? Are you somebody who is a Studio One fan? Like I am a fan. Again, I talk trash about it, but I am a fan of Studio One, and I still do recommend it to a lot of my friends, especially if they're just getting started out. Studio One, not saying it's a beginner DAW, because it's a professional grade DAW for sure, but they offer Sphere, which I have talked about in previous videos, for $16 a month. It's not $14.95, by the way. It's $16 after they charge me taxes and everything. They rounded it up to $16. But anyway, still not a lot of money. $16 a month. You can sign up with no commitment. You can try every feature that they offer, and at the end of the month, if you don't like it, you can cancel it. Or before the end of the month, you can actually sign up, pay them the $16, hit unsubscribe, right? Like cancel your subscription, and you still have it for the 30 days. And that way you don't have to worry about forgetting about it and them charging you again when maybe you didn't like the program. So, Cubase doesn't offer that. Steinberg doesn't offer that. I think they might go that direction. And but I don't know if they're going to go that direction or not. It would be cool if they did offer you the option like Presonus does, because Presonus still makes it very clear you can buy it outright or you can just sign up to Sphere, which is really cool. And they make it easy. That's the biggest key for me. They make it really easy. I subscribe and unsubscribe 10 times every 3 months, because if I get a project from somebody that's in Studio One, I'll resubscribe to my Sphere so it doesn't run out on me, and then I'll finish the project and then I'll cancel. And they even have an option when you cancel, it says project finished, I don't need it anymore, in so many words, right? Just click that and you're good to go. So one thing I'll touch on really quick here, because I didn't want this video to be about Atmos, but I will talk about it really quickly. Cubase 12 has Atmos. Cubase 12 Pro has Atmos. Again, I don't know about the lower tiers, but Pro has Atmos. I have not messed around with Atmos in Logic or any other DAW enough to really comment on it. I've released no mixes in Atmos yet, but I am going to start learning how to use Atmos because it's something that's very interesting to me. Studio One doesn't offer that, which is not a problem because I don't think we're at that place to where it really matters to a lot of people. What bothers me is they've not mentioned it at all. Like, they are ghosting it. And I've seen posts from as early as 2020 on Presonus forums, people saying, hey guys, I use Atmos and I really like Studio One. Can you please bring me Atmos? Even if you guys don't use Atmos, you don't care about Atmos, it's a thing that's here in the industry now, and I think personally it's here to stay. This is not quadraphonic. Do not compare it to quadraphonic. Do your research. It's not the same at all. But I think Studio One will eventually come out with Atmos. I really do. Or there will be a third-party company who makes a plugin that's Atmos, and then you can use it on any DAW. And there is actually a company, just 10 days ago, I saw a promotional video about a company who has a plugin that's in beta, or they have one that's out. I think it was a couple $100, $150, $200, which is kind of pricey, but not if you think about it, right? You can have any DAW, Ableton Live, whatever. It'll be Atmos with this third-party plugin. So you can still stick with your favorite DAW. I'm ranting, and I apologize, but that's what a podcast is about, right? But I think Studio One will bring Atmos eventually. I just hope they would do it sooner rather than later. But that's kind of my rant about everything. I think Cubase 12 Pro is really cool. Again, to wrap it all up, I'm going to pick one or the other. When I'm done tracking that band inside of Logic, again, just tracking the audio, I'm going to bounce all the track outs, and I'm going to import all the stems and the track outs either into Cubase 12 or Studio One, going back to Studio One. So we will see at the end of this 30-day challenge, we'll see. So if you guys are into this type of content, check out some of my videos, hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys next Wednesday in the next podcast. Have a good rest of the week, guys.